What kind of mint did you say?
I thought it was peppermint.
I don't know. It's so minty. I don't think I'm going to have to brush my teeth when I get home tonight.
You already Listerine for the night.
I've already Listerine'd it. That's right. Kill it. And high enough proof that it probably killed all the bacteria in my mouth.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 17 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hey fellas.
Hey, how yins doing?
Back again. When I go to a liquor store, I go to two sections.
Ooh, let me guess. The Cabernet Sauvignon.
Of course, find me a good, nice red wine.
And the gin.
Yeah, of course, yes. Specifically the rabbit hole gin. But usually I kind of veer to the White Claws first, the seltzers first, you know.
Are you worried they're going to get picked and you're not going to get the last one?
You want to get there first for those, right? You also don't want to be the guy, because where we live, everybody goes straight to the bourbon section when they walk into a store, and everybody that works there knows what you're doing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, so I pretend like I'm going somewhere else first, but then I mosey on over to the bourbon section, you know, and then I might finish back at the White Claws.
Oh, wait. Let's think about this. So you don't go to the bourbon section first because you're worried what they're going to think of you, but then you enter the section with a pack of White Claw.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would think that would be said tool walking into a section he knows nothing about if he did that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is you tend to, because they're not going to help you if you're just the guy there, you know, the people that walk into the bourbon section with their phones in their hands, you know, because they're texting their friends or taking pictures of stuff, you know.
I was that guy this morning, actually. I walked into a liquor store, and I walked over to the bourbon section, and I just stood there. People coming over, can I help you with something? I'm like, nope. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I'm just standing there, and then I ran into somebody I knew, and I'm still standing there 20 minutes later. They're like, okay, I'll see you later. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm just standing here staring at the shelves like something's magically going to appear. And nothing did, but I mean, that's my thing.
You know what to look for and what not to look for. So you just kind of like, you know, your eyes just kind of go up and down like this, and you just keep walking, you know.
Yeah, but I did that, but then I just stood there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like something was going to happen. And then finally I snapped to my senses. Must have been the leftover White Claw. And then I walked out and was like, okay, get it back together. Get it together.
Well, I mean, I've got a lead on some hard seltzers, the Topo Chico brand. You know, we talked about ranch water being really good.
Yeah.
It's made with Topo Chico seltzer water, right? Well, Topo Chico has their own brand, too. It has their own hard seltzers. So I saw where they have them in Georgia, so I got a buddy that's down in Georgia, and he's gonna get me some and bring them back this weekend.
Wow.
I thought there was a brand at Total Wine that used Topo Chico that we have here.
There might be. I don't know. I mean, Topo Chico's like, you know, top shelf seltzer water. But
okay. So if everybody's sourcing that seltzer for their hard seltzers,
you're right. If you want to use bourbon terms, then they are sourcing the.
That's the MGP of the water world.
They are sourcing the
there
Topo Chico.
That's perfect.
So, the big companies, they got their own, but the smaller companies, but then Topo Chico has their own, so
nice.
I'm ready. I'm excited to try that.
Do either of you guys remember the New York seltzers? That was like a thing when I was a kid. Does anybody remember those or not?
No?
Okay. Maybe it was just big in my hometown, but they were these little tiny bottles in like about 30 different flavors. They weren't alcohol, but I was thinking maybe if they bring their brand back, they could be the New York seltzer hard seltzers.
That's the thing. I hated seltzer water. Like, it was nasty, you know, growing up. Did you ever have that? Like,
well, I like the Clearly Canadian a lot.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So
that's a real big throwback there. That's the same frame what I was going for.
My senior year in high school, I went to Germany for a month and a half as an exchange program.
You had a passport for that?
I did have a passport for that. But we'll get to that. But I have a feeling he's going to make fun of me for this. But for that. But anyway, all they ever drank was like the seltzer water, you know? So like I'd open one up at night and then just let it sit on my nightstand all night. So that way in the morning it's just regular water. You know, that's like just that way it just tastes like water that I'm used to. So obviously Steven wants to talk about my passport.
Well, you know, I have something writing on this.
Well, he has a vested interest in it since we have our trip to Mexico coming up at the end of June. So my passport was expiring this month, I think this month. And so I had to renew it. So I sent it in February, filled out the application. So I thought, mailed it in with my old passport, which is what you're supposed to do. And, you know, the traditional process is that they'll cash the check, they'll return your old passport with like a hole punched in it. They'll send you the new one, all that kind of stuff. You're good to go. Well, it had been a while since I had gotten mine. I was like, my brother-in-law had put in for his renewal about the same time I had. My father-in-law, I think he put one in too, and he saw where his check had been cashed. My brother-in-law's had come back in the mail.
The suspense is building here now. I'm
My
feeling
in-laws
like maybe
are preparers. They're always doing things
just to have
just
it.
in case.
Yeah.
You know, our check hadn't been cashed, nothing. I'm like, I got worried. So called the passport office, and they're like, we have no record of your passport. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's not good.
They're like, you should at this point consider it lost.
Oh, man.
And you need to fill out a new application. I said, okay, that's fine. So then I get online, fill out the application for the lost passport, and they tell you like 3 times, they're like, as soon as you click this button, your old passport is no longer valid, and you got to go through the application process for a new one. Are you sure you want to click this button? It's going to, so I did it, closed it out. An hour later, I got home, and there's my old passport had been returned to me in the mail that day. So I called the passport office again. This is going to be a long episode. And so I called the passport office again, and I'm like, look, I was told to close it out, to consider it lost. And they're like, no, you shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have told you that, because we tell people not to do that because the process is so much longer to do that. I was like, well, great. What do I do now? And she's like, well, here's what you do. She said, your passport was returned because you didn't sign the application.
Oh, man.
So that's why
holy cow.
I almost missed that part of it. But
Was it on the back or like the back middle or?
Yeah, it's on the second page or something. Really big though. I shouldn't have missed it.
Okay.
But, she's like, when you fill out the new application, she's like, every slot, just do NA. If it doesn't apply, just write NA. That way you just know that you haven't missed a spot, on the application. So she's like, put a little note on there that they told you wrong, somebody else in this office told you wrong, and so basically just plead to them that, you could just renew it like this. She's like, I think it'll work. So, but of course, by this point, I have to pay the extra $50 or $60 to expedite it so that I can get it back in time for our trip to Mexico. So,
when you told the agent, the State Department agent, the second one,
right,
about what happened with the first one,
yeah, no, it was not in their system because I never signed it. It never even got to anyone to say, oh, he's trying to get his passport renewed. So, like, as soon as it got to the office, I guess they have somebody that sits there and just reviews on whether everything has been filled out or not. And if it hasn't, they just drop it back in the mail. And, so it doesn't even get to anybody. So,
But I'm saying there was nothing that was flagged on your account saying,
No,
it wasn't signed?
No.
Good big government.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Michael, I hope that you get your passport, but if you don't, I just want you to know you can stay on my couch at my house while your wife and and Stephen and his wife, sorry.
I know.
When they go off
and enjoy their
trip to Mexico, you can just hang out on my couch. I only ask that you cut the grass and, buy some groceries.
But that's the thing is this was supposed to be a vacation. Our kids aren't going.
Yeah.
So now if that didn't happen, then I'm stuck at home with 2 kids and my wife's in Mexico. So
you still want to come sleep on the couch?
Oh, yeah, I still do. Yes, exactly.
That still can kind of be an all-inclusive.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
You have a good bourbon bar to drink from.
I have better than what we'll have in Mexico. I can promise you that because I've heard that they don't have seltzers, and Jim Beam White Label is the best they've got as far as bourbon. So
it all comes back.
Margaritas.
Yeah, but there'll be other things to drink.
Yeah. Well, Mexico's a long way from this week's pick. We have a bottle of Nashville Barrel Strength Rye Single Barrel.
So there's a little bit of mystery surrounding this one. I mean, when I say a little bit of mystery, not a ton. So Nashville Barrel Company is a relatively recent, a new thing out of Nashville, of course. They're sourcing a lot of their whiskey from MGP. And so the bottle date here is 2021. The ABV on this bottle that we're drinking tonight is 54.43. A great proof of 108.86. It is an 8-year rye, and even though MGP has 2 rye mash bills, we believe from tasting this one, and we could be wrong, that it is the 45% corn, 51% rye, and 4% malted barley. But there's an outside chance it could be the 95% rye mash bill. But this has an MSRP of $115. I remember seeing these a little bit last year, and the MSRP was about $70 or $80, but they weren't available in a lot of places. So now they're becoming more available in Kentucky. I've seen that MSRP creep up to between $100 and $115.
So last year when you saw it for a little bit cheaper, were those picks or were those just the rye?
Well, most of the ones I was seeing were picks, and actually their product line right now, as far as I know, is just a small batch rye, a blend of 7-year-old and 4-year-old barrels, and then they of course have these single barrels which have been running the gamut everywhere from private picks with groups being released in different places to now they're finally going to big retailers. It's really not something that's been around for a long time. In fact, I think they just got into Kentucky and the retail space recently here, even though local groups were picking barrels from them. They also offer, I think, light whiskey. They're just getting ready to offer bourbon, and they also offer like rum finishes and a bunch of different products. So,
what is light whiskey?
It's like Bud Light.
Is that like below 80%?
No, there's actually some really high proof light whiskey. But it's as far as I know, it's just whiskey that's not aged in new toasted, American oak like bourbon is. Yeah, so it's aged in other barrels that aren't brand new, but it's become quite popular recently, especially because MGP has a lot of old light whiskey and a lot of companies are sourcing it. So I've personally never had it, but my guess is that you'll hear about it soon if you don't know a lot about it.
So I'll say that this thing for a new company checks all the boxes of what people are trying to accomplish. It seems like cool looking bottle, cool label, high price. $114 is a lot of money. That's a crazy amount of money.
I mean, that's almost like a peerless. Let's enter the market and let's be high.
Which is exactly the same way. They got a cool bottle, pretty new, that kind of stuff. So this is a barrel pick. So it's got Total Wine right on the front, stamped on there, just like you would.
Accounting stamp.
Yeah, it's like the stamp you got when you went to the club in college, and they stamped it on your hand. So I can imagine what the local people that get to pick them, they probably just have to handwrite it with like a Sharpie or something, because at least Total Wine used their stamp that they put on the return labels for things that they mail out, right? They probably at least sign their applications when they do it. But it is a rare release, according to the bottle. Stephen has used all of his energy trying to pop this cork tonight twice now. It is a synthetic cork that fits quite firmly in the bottle.
Yeah,
you're not going to lose anything to evaporation if you got that cork back in the bottle snugly.
It's got a little story on the back, which I don't know if it's a brand new company how good the story can be when it's not even whiskey that they made.
The bottle reminds me of the Wild Turkey Master Keep.
Oh yeah, Master's Keep. Yep, that's the one. Yep. It does look like that. You're 100% right. It might actually be the same bottle.
Might be.
Just obviously without the glass turkey.
They might even bottle in the same place. Who knows? They got their Instagram hashtag on the back.
It's a modern label.
Yeah. Nashville Barrel Co. So you can hashtag that when you're talking about this tonight.
And here's the thing. I know that the limited that information I read about them, it seems that this company was started by two people who raised a lot of money for fundraisers in the bourbon world, big on social media, doing stuff for cancer benefits and things like that. I think they just parlayed that into a business, not saying that they used the charity to start the business, but I think that's how they probably got their connections, maybe possibly how they got their hands on this whiskey, because 8-year-old MGP rye isn't just popping up everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of brands that source it, but it's probably gotten quite expensive over the years, I got to imagine. Maybe that's why this is $115.
I'd say $115 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
For 8-year-old, I can understand that, but that's a pretty high age for a rye, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And, we've talked about this before. Well-aged stock, you guys see it with the bourbon, right? Every company's sourcing 13, 14, 15-year-old bourbon, and they're slapping price tags on it of $120 to $300 in some cases. There's really not a whole lot of, at least with this, we know where it's coming from. A lot of those other ones, there's non-disclosure agreements, so you have no idea where it's coming from.
So we're going for our first notes. Do have to say the 108.86 proof hit you a little bit when you nose it.
Really, I was thinking it's.
You think any ethanol?
It's in the 108.84 proof range for me.
Well, this is over that, so.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not coming off as strong for me by about 0.02.
I think the nose hairs are singed.
I definitely can see what you're saying, but with rye, you never know that spice hits you. So sometimes it's a kind of dual of the little bit of ethanol, but that rye spice hitting you.
There's a hint of caramel in there, and definitely spice from the rye.
That's what's got me thinking. I'm not sure which mash bill this is from MGP, because you usually would get a lot more caramel with, the corn and just barely being a rye whiskey. It'd be more like a bourbon taste, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see when we taste it.
There is a hint of mint.
There is.
Right there.
I think there's not just a hint. I think it's actually very dominant. So maybe this is the 95%. I don't know.
Should we go in for a sip? Well, it's Christmas time. Peppermint.
Oh, excuse me.
I thought this was fine.
Oh, I was just joshing you on that. This is pretty hot for. It's got that rye spice and the high proof.
Yeah.
That long finish.
It is minty though.
Yeah, that's basically the flavor.
Yeah, the mint does dominate, in my opinion, and I think I've mentioned this in the past when we tasted other ryes. I don't like herbal ryes, like vegetable-y ryes. That's not my thing. And so I appreciate that this is minty. To me, it does drink a little bit like a bourbon. It's still got me a little fooled between whether or not it's the high rye or not, or which one it is. But I think it's got some tasty notes to it. Caramel, a little bit of vanilla. I think like a very faint fruit, but I'm not really sure what fruit. It's very, very faint, and definitely, though, dominant mint. What kind of mint did you say?
I thought it was peppermint.
Peppermint?
I don't know. It's so minty, I don't think I'm going to have to brush my teeth when I get home tonight.
You already Listerine for the night.
I've already Liserined it. That's
kill two
right.
birds with one stone?
High enough proof that it probably killed all the bacteria in my mouth.
Now, back a couple episodes, we were talking about the age of a rye, and this is probably the highest rye we've had so far. How do we feel as it's aged versus the other ones? Is it any more spicy, any less spicy, smoother, not as smooth? I know the proof is higher than the other ones we've had.
Yeah, it's hard because I think, too, that if barrel entry proof was, and who knows, we're only speculating here, but if it's only 108 and it's 8 years old, my guess is that it would probably be aged probably a lower place in the warehouse, right? Or else if it was higher, we'd probably expect the proof to be higher. And it's worth noting right now, as we talk about it, that I've seen these single barrels go anywhere from, I think, 104 to all the way almost to 120. And so there is going to be variation in the stock that they have. And so maybe...
That's a big range.
Yeah, in terms of the proof. And I think most are 7 and 8 years old. I don't know if I've seen any 9 or 10-year-olds, unless I'm sure there's some exclusive club out there that might have one that's aged a little bit more.
You mean Total Wine's not the exclusive club?
I'm just surprised that Total Wine actually would go out and get something that's what I would consider to be semi-trendy, in the sense that...
That's funny, I almost use that exact word, trendy.
Not everybody has it, you know what I mean? So to see Total Wine picking up on it is maybe they know what they're doing over there.
I don't know. Have you seen the picks they've gotten recently at Total Wine? You know, of course, locally we're a lot different than probably Total Wines around the country. But
are you saying specifically the Nulu?
Yeah, there's like 20 brands up there that I've never heard of or don't care anything about. You know, it's weird. They don't have Four Roses or, a Woodford or, they don't really have those anymore. It seems like it's all, all these like kind of off brands.
Yeah. Well, I was actually excited to see, and maybe
what happened is, sorry to interrupt, but I bet what happened is a lot of these smaller companies they've just headhunted Total Wine and been like, hey, why don't you come do a pick here and put this out on your... It's good for them because they get their name in a big store.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that, like, if you go on Nashville Barrel's website, I don't know how realistic this is, but they actually have a thing like, fill out a form to do a pick with us. So, like, could we potentially fill out a form and go do a pick with them? I mean, we're not connected to a store or anything, so I think we'd have a little trouble there, but I don't know. Maybe that's how they did it. Maybe it was just one of those things where they decided, or their distributor, whoever's distributing this product, may have just said, like, walked into Total Wine and said, you want to do barrel pick,
Don't want me filling out the form. I won't sign it.
That's right.
I'm held back.
Yeah. We wonder, why did we hear back from him on the barrel pick thing? We get it back and say, well, I didn't sign it.
Damn it, Michael.
I'll get you, Michael.
Well, I'll be honest. Nashville Barrel I've seen on Facebook groups and, on all of our bourbon pages, and it's one of those ones that I just scroll on past. You all know my thoughts on from anything from outside of Kentucky and this is ever having anything that's from outside of Kentucky. This was probably the first thing.
And this is checking 2 boxes.
Yeah, this is checking 2 boxes. So like I would typically scroll right on past this on.
Well, now that you've tried it, I'm excited to see what you're going to say when we get to our segment where we talk about.
Well, let's just go ahead and get there.
Oh, we're going to go?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get there.
Let's do it.
Gentlemen, would you pass, try, or buy on the Nashville Barrel straight rye single barrel pick?
Well, I think my cough probably gave mine away when I tried the 108 proof rye, but I would pass. You guys know my thoughts, and this bottle has only solidified my thoughts on anything from outside of Kentucky that I don't care about. And at $114, it's definitely out.
I have learned of myself over the years that I appreciate a good rye whiskey, and I don't like, I just run from the bad rye whiskeys. And so I was actually doing, I'm going to give you the soliloquy before I tell you the pass, try, or buy. But I was actually doing a look at what I have in my house, and I realized that I have a lot of rye whiskey, which signals to me that I appreciate good rye whiskey. And so this one I would actually put in the try category just because of the price of it. I do think it's a little bit crazy, and that's probably part of the hype and the novelty of it, that Total Wine's selling it for $115. So yes, only because we're in the $115 range, I would be a try. If this were an $80 bottle, I'd be a buy all day, just because I think it delivers a very interesting sip for a rye drinker specifically. It's going to bring some good complexity to the palate and something that you're not going to get on an everyday product.
So what about it? They have a small batch that you said I think runs about like $60.
Yeah.
All right, so and it's probably a lower proof. It's probably like 90 proof or.
I'm not sure. I think it's 100 proof, and it's a mixture of
whatever
7 and 4 year barrels. But I've never had it. So
obviously, it's
rye.
It's obviously going to be a lot more consistent than a single barrel that we have here. So that would be a buy for you.
I don't know. I've never tried it, and so I don't know how the 4-year-old rye mingles in there. I do like younger rye whiskeys. I've had some that I really like that are 2 and 3 or 4 years old. So,
but the age is not going to scare
4 years,
you away.
Yeah, 4 years is still pretty good.
That's still pretty good, because rye matures faster.
And especially if it's with a 7 too.
That might be a buy for me. Actually, now that we've had this, I'm thinking that I'd probably want to go and try that one out just to see, because I do know that it's available at our locals.
Well, the second pour I've enjoyed more than the first pour. I think it's opened up a little bit. There's not much as far as taste and aroma goes, and nosing it, but what's there is nice. The only problem is I think it's the price, because at 115, I know it's got 8 years on it, but when I could think of another bottle that's $50 that may have the 95% rye from MGP. I think the proof is probably just a little bit lower than this, but not too much. That's very good. I would just have a hard time spending $115 on it. But if you're out and you see it, I would try it.
Okay.
Definitely would try it. I mean, it's an 8-year-old rye, so if you want to try a rye that's been aged for a little while, I wouldn't, as long as it's not $60 a pour.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that makes this a little difficult, too, you just mentioned other ryes, because MGP is providing so much rye for a lot of the market. And so you got Redemption, you got High West, you have all these brands that source from MGP. There's many more, Templeton, right? And then you got MGP's putting their own labeling out now, right? So Rossville Union Rye is MGP's own rye that they're bottling under their own label. And I saw Total Wine had store picks of that were 6 and 7 years old. So, and it costs, I think, $80 maybe. And so if you're seeing those out there, I've not tried one of those, but I'm about to. Might make it a little difficult to pull the trigger at $115.
Well, I would think at $115, that's more than I've ever spent on anything. You know, and as a matter of fact, anything that I own that is higher than that, I've won on like a Fireball on Facebook groups. So yeah, like I've had a little success on those. But I mean, honestly, that's the only way I can get anything that's of any value anymore is because it's the only way I got anything. Any Weller 12 I have, any Rock Hill Farms, any Elmer T. Lee's, I get them by winning them.
Now, what exactly is a Fireball for?
So like on the Facebook groups where they basically play off of like the lottery and the red ball that comes up and it's like 0 through 9 and everybody has a 10% chance of winning. Basically, whatever the secondary value of the bottle is, you divide it by 10. Everybody pays that, right? And so So you get an opportunity. Everybody has a 10% opportunity to win. I've had lots of success. I've also had lots of failures in it. So I've also helped pay for people's bottles. But
do you have any strategy associated with that?
There's no strategy. The only strategy I have is I stay away from it when I don't even play anything. When like a number hasn't come up in like 3 weeks. Maybe like the 1 hasn't come up in like 3 weeks, and everybody's just fighting over this 1. Like you got to be on Facebook the moment somebody posts something to get that 1. I'm not playing anything. I'm not playing it during all that because it's not any fun. So even though I know there's still a 10% chance of getting it, but yeah, no, I have no strategy.
Yeah, I just wondered because I'll have to borrow from you because I know that I've never won anything on those, and I've not tried a whole lot. It's something that I've come up onto recently. I was not an OG Fireball guy on Facebook when it came to bourbon stuff, but I've tried here and there, and whether it's bourbon or a raffle like a rando, I got the worst luck ever. In fact, I think one of the only ones I've ever won was like something for a couple beers that somebody did up locally here in Georgetown. They were like, one night put up a couple beers on a rando. I spent like, I don't know, $10 and won, and I was like, yeah, my first win ever.
But it is fun. Like when you win, it's fun. Like it's awesome. When you lose, you get pissed. Like you're just like, you have no control over that, but you still are pissed. I got a buddy. He's been pretty hot lately, so he's got his rules. He doesn't mind taking the repeater, the same number that just came up the drawing before. He likes to do that, because a lot of people don't like to take that number.
Yeah.
He thinks that when the 1 comes a lot, so it ends up being a popular, so he'll play that, and then he never plays a 0. Like if there's a 0, he's like, I'm not taking that number. I don't know. I'm like, dude, it's a number, just take it. But he won't do it. So.
Oh man,
sounds like I can win now.
Everybody, there's all kinds of strategy, but it doesn't really matter.
It's all 10%.
It's all 10%. Everybody has a 10% chance.
And that would be, I guess that's the beauty of it. That's why people like those things so much, even though I feel like it'd be an endless black hole for me. I'd spend too much money and then forget about it.
Well, a lot of these people just do it for the gambling purposes, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the groups that I'm in, there's a buyback. So if you win, you can either get the bottle. So, for example, if the bottle is $200 value, you can get 90%, which is $180.
Yeah.
And so you would do, if you're sitting there at home and you're playing a Nashville barrel, bottle that you don't really like, you don't really care, and you win it, maybe it's $100. Like, all right, well, I'll just take $80 in cash then. Just send me $80, and I don't. You can keep your bottle, and I'll take the money. So. A lot of people end up doing that.
Yeah.
There's one group I'm in, I swear to you, they have put up this Jack Daniels single barrel. It's from 2008. This guy has put this thing up 100 times because it's a bottle that nobody cares about. Like, I can look at every person and be like, you care nothing about that bottle. But they'll play it, they'll play it just so that they can get the money, right? And so, meanwhile, that guy's making $20 every time because he's
for his
put
picture.
it up. Yeah. And occasionally he'll put a house number on there and he'll win the $180. He'll win the $200 himself.
Is it the same picture every time?
Oh, it's the same picture. It's the same bottle. He'll do it twice a day. He's been doing it for 6 months. As a matter of fact, I told my buddy the other day, like, I'm going to play that thing, and I'm going to win it, and I'm going to take that bottle just so that I'm tired of seeing it up there.
And then why don't you start doing it?
And then my buddy's like, but what are you going to do with that bottle? I was like, you're right. I care nothing about that. I'll probably take the money, too. Like, and that's just the way it is. Like, some of these guys, and it's all about hedging for these people. They'll have numbers in 10 different raffles and different numbers so that they guaranteed to win something.
Yeah.
It's nuts, but it's fun. Like it's I don't want it to go away. That's for sure.
Yeah, but the looks of it, looks like things are increasing, not going away. So,
well, it's definitely sending the price of things up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially when you can play for the buyback like that. The money, if you're only playing for the cash, then you don't really care how much the bottle is valued at.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TheMashupKY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comments section. Until next time, keep it neat.